I spoke to the CEO of Dublin Airport Authority, Dalton Phillips. I began by asking him about the 130 soldiers being on standby to assist at the airport and if it's likely that those military personnel will be moving in this week.
Well, Clara, I hope it's very unlikely. We have made significant progress in the last 6 weeks in terms of our overall security program at Dublin Airport, and 93% of people over the month of June got through security in under 45 minutes. And in fact, 77% got through in under 30 minutes. So we've made significant progress. COVID and that fifth wave is out there. And we felt that it would be prudent to engage with the Defence Forces and say, look, in the unlikely event that we had a COVID outbreak in our security operations, and I'm talking about more than 20% people being impacted and affected by COVID, we would like to be able to turn to the Defence Forces. Now, we don't have that level of COVID anywhere near it, but I think it's prudent. 90% of all flights in and out of this country go through Dublin Airport, and I think the public wouldn't thank us if we let them down. We let them down on the 29th of May. We don't want to let them down again.
Let's talk about those COVID figures. So the plan you're saying will be triggered if more than 20% of airport security staff are out of work with COVID. Are you close at all to hitting that percentage, or that standby date of July 6th, which is this Wednesday, is that likely to be a point that the Army move in? Or are you essentially ruling it out for this week?
Ruling it out for this week. And look, our security teams have just done an outstanding job. They've all put their shoulder to the wheel. And as I said, the proposition has improved dramatically from what happened on the 29th of May. So the Army was just prudent contingency in the event. Now, we are seeing a huge amount of COVID going through the industry. You're seeing massive levels of flight cancellations. In fact, 88 flights in and out of Dublin have been cancelled in the last 5 days. That impacts about 13,000 people. Clearly, we can't control the airlines and the challenges they have around COVID. But from our side, from a security point of view, prudent planning.
But you don't believe they will be needed this week at least, although they are on standby, we understand, for 6 weeks. How many extra staff have you hired since you appeared before an Oireachtas committee when it was in the eye of the storm in terms of staffing levels at the airport? Have your levels come up since then?
So our levels now, Claire, are essentially where they were back in 2019 before the pandemic started. So we've almost doubled the amount of staff we have in the organisation. So an extra 450 people have come in. So we'll have 920 officers at the end of this month, and that will be above where we were in 2019. Are
you experiencing any delays in terms of staff training, vetting procedures? I know that you said it was problematic and it was causing delays to crucially getting staff on the floor.
Look, it remains a problem, and anybody who has lived abroad over the last 5 years for more than 6 months has to have foreign disclosure. That's not just for Dublin Airport employees. I mean, that's for everybody in the aviation sector. And so that does take time, but we're working through it. And clearly we've made huge strides from where we were in May. It's still finely balanced. The numbers are huge going through the airport at the moment, Claire. It's essentially 100,000 passengers going through every day. And you may remember most commentators, and we felt that aviation wouldn't return until 2024, 2025. And we're in a situation now where we're already back in 2019.
Yeah. Are you ruling out those sort of flight restrictions that we have seen at other airports as a result of delays there at Gatwick and at Schiphol, that in Amsterdam, that they have in fact imposed flight restrictions? Is that something that you can categorically rule out happening at Dublin Airport?
Absolutely. And that's why we said, look, in terms of prudent planning, that's why we wanted to engage with the Defence Forces in case we had a COVID outbreak. We don't want to have any flight cancellations, and there's no proposal, and we don't want to go there. Having said that, there is an awful lot of challenge, as I said, in the network with just airlines having to cut huge amounts of flights voluntarily because of their own challenges around crewing and staffing.
OK, CEO of Dublin Airport Authority, Dalton Phillips, thank you for joining us on the programme tonight.